Hello everyone, it's Tana. Welcome back to the Rabbit Hole Designs YouTube channel. So we're going to get right into today's video. We are going to have 3 cards and we're just going to use the stamp set Clarence and Clarice Love. So for this first card I pulled out my Nicole upper and lower case alpha dies. And I wanted to put the sentiment that actually comes in the stamp set, Love is Love, on the front panel to turn it into a shaker. I started out with a plain white piece of 120 pound cardstock, but when I ran it through my die cutting machine, it had a bunch of marks on it. I forgot to run it through with a piece of cardstock because my plates are well loved. They have since been replaced, but at this time they were well loved, and you could see marks. I'm holding it up there. So I switched it out for another piece of white cardstock that I had dry embossed with an embossing folder. It's got like little, looks like little quilted, like a quilt with little hearts in the diamonds. But the problem with that was I lined up the original piece of cardstock so I wouldn't have to do all that lining up and measuring again, and that worked out. I just taped the original piece over the piece I was going to use and lined it up that way. But then my embossed panel was kind of smushed down, but I was able to line it up in my embossing folder again and re-emboss it a second time. I don't know if you would be able to do that if you did it. It probably would depend on the embossing folder, but I just wanted you to be aware of that. So I put my piece of acetate on the back of the front panel, and while that's drying, I wanted to take this first image in the stamp set and do a mirror image, or a couple of mirror images, because that's a type of image where, depending on your relationship or the person you're making the card for, you could have 2 of Clarence facing each other, or 2 of Clarice, or leave it the way it is with 1 Clarence and 1 Clarice, or even Clarence and Clarice with their images reversed. So I did color a bunch of images to mix and match. I didn't get to it in this video, but it's definitely made where you can split them up and mix and match. So we're going to put our shaker bits in. I have some red pointed gems here and some red confetti hearts and also some clear seed beads, and that is double hype foam tape there. And I'm using a piece of pattern paper from, I believe it's Spring Fling. I don't remember if it's number 1 or number 2. I may not even have the name correct, but I'll try to put it on the screen for you guys, and I'll definitely put it in the description box below. And that's my backer for my shaker card. And I have to say, I hope the pictures do this card justice, because here are my mixed and match pieces that I colored. Because it looks kind of plain from here, but when you see the embossed panel, it's just enough. It really makes the card. So I put my Clarice and Clarence on the card. Now Clarice is slightly covering up the S, but that's okay. You can still tell what it is. And I really like the way this card turned out. I think it's super cute. So moving on to card number 2, we have some of Simon Says Stamp's rainbow holographic cardstock. And I used a scale apart die from my stash to cut a heart out of that, like centered but up towards the top. And then I used that bottom image in the stamp set, Clarence with the big love spelled out of acorns. And I wanted to put him so he looks like he's popping out of the heart. So I decided to separate him from the word love, and then I decided to color a second image altogether. But I decided to cut out his fingers because they matched the squirrel I was going to use better than the original hands. And I wanted them popped up so they look like they're holding the sign. And then that will be on the outside, the front of the panel, and Clarence will be behind the heart. And now I'm going to measure out where I need to glue him. I'm just going to glue him down with some Nouveau Deluxe adhesive. Excuse my heater popping on there. It's severely cold here. So if you hear me having a hard time breathing, that's why. constant weather changing is really playing with my breathing. So I'm going to use this Open Heart stencil, I believe it's called, and I believe this one is retired, but you can use any stencil you want. I just needed something behind Clarence because it was looking kind of plain to me, and I took my Catherine Pooler Serenade and just ink blended the hearts there. Now I'm going to add some foam tape to Clarence, but the rest of the foam tape will be on that back panel to make sure that I don't interfere with the heart or anything. Plus, I knew that my pink panel was smaller than the holographic panel, so I wanted to make sure all the foam tape was covered. Now I'm going to add some glue to that, just so I have some time to maneuver it around. There we go, and now we're going to glue that entire panel onto a fog card base. I think it's fog. It's either a fog card base or a white card base. I'll have to get back to you on that. And then I'm going to also pop this up, center that over the original sign, and it was looking kind of plain once again, so I used my lowercase alpha, Nicole alpha dies, and cut out an I and a YOU so I could make it I love you. And I did not want to play around with straight letters this time, so I curved them, made them kind of playful. Added some sparkly gems, and that's it for card number 2. For card number 3, we're going to do a slimline, and I'm going to ink the entire panel up with some Grape Crush, which was a little dry. Wait till you see how much ink is on here. So I re-inked it. Good thing I put it to my ink pad top first, huh? And I went over that entire panel really quickly. Voila. We're almost done here. And then I go along the outer edges with a darker purple drive-in and with my bitty blender. Bitty blending brush. I can never remember the name, guys. I get tongue twisted every time and I can never remember the name. I'll put it on the screen for you. So I'm going to go all around the edges with that. And then I'm going to go back to my bigger blending brush. I'm not going to add any additional Grape Crush. Just what's on there. Kind of blend those two lines and smooth them out a little bit. Then I'm going to take this heart stencil from my stash. I go over it with my Imagine Crafts Sparkle, and then the Frost, and then the clear spray from Avriel. And I just slide the stencil down to get the rest of the slimline panel. And we're going to cover up that line it makes later on, so don't worry about that. Dried it really well, popped it up on foam tape. Now this matte you see behind it, I went around the edges with my pucker up ink pad because that matches the shadow behind the hot foiled word love. And I also used pucker up for this sentiment strip. I'm going to ink up the sentiment with some Grape Crush. And I'm going to attempt to cut it out 2 times, because you guys know I can never cut it out straight the first time. Never, ever, ever. I'm going to take this purple glittered circle. I don't know what color it is. It was already cut and in my stash and happened to be the perfect size. Centered that and glued it straight to the card panel. Popped up the word love on foam tape. And then Clarence and Clarice are also popped up, and they'll be standing right on top of the word love inside of the glitter circle. And the sentiment strip is also popped up, and it will go over that line that the stencil made. And that's it for card 3, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video and all the cards that you can make with the Clarence and Clarice Love stamp set for Valentine's Day. Don't forget to sign up for the Rabbit Hole Designs email. You can be aware of all the new releases and inspiration. And don't forget about Instagram, where you can find Rabbit Hole Designs and tons more inspiration from the design team. And we will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye for now.